are back. God, it was beautiful yesterday. If you are on the East Coast, if you are in Connecticut, it makes everything going on so much easier when you can be outside. Some stuff has been opening up a little bit. We had, just a nice social distancing with a dear friend of mine yesterday. It was really cool. So as you know, we've been doing this every Sunday morning, and we decided to make it a little bit more structured. So all of May is going to be Spiritual Awakening. We're going to have a series. One of them is going to be about how to create your own boundaries, right? Like who do you need to get out of your life who's been too negative, too toxic? How can you deal with your family? We're going to do another one about finding you. What have you learned through this about yourself? Where can you go? And, I want to acknowledge first that I saw this great Facebook post where it said, we're not all in the same boat with this. We may be on the same river, we may be in the same ocean, but we're not. And for some people out there, having a spiritual awakening series might seem like a luxury, like, well, screw you, I'm just trying to figure out how to pay rent next month. But you know what? It's really not. And Carl and I have both been through some really hard times. Like, I was down to practically my last dollar. I had declared bankruptcy. I was on Husky. I was getting, support from, financial assistance and everything. So we've been there. And this is exactly what we did need at that time, at my lowest time. So my whole point, and I would love you to subscribe to my YouTube channel and Safety Mom if you haven't, is about staying happy, healthy, safe, and strong. Because when you're at your lowest, I always feel like if somebody, just one person had touched me, I could have gotten through what I got through. And that's how Carl and I feel. I don't care if I'm talking to one person. I don't care if I'm talking to 1 million people. If this helps one person get to the next day, we've done what we want to do because we love doing this. We love being of service. And I know that so many people out there are facing truly financial ruin. They are so sick. They've got loved ones in the hospital that they can't be near. They may be sitting in an abusive relationship just praying to get out right now. We're there for you. We're there to be your hope. We're there to tell you it's going to get better. We've got your back. We're going to virtually touch you and someday physically touch you, but we are there for you. And that's what this is about. This is about all of us having a spiritual awakening. We're going to talk about law of attraction, but you've got to be ready for it. So that's what this is about. And that's why we're so excited to be doing this, because we are all going through a spiritual awakening. Right, Carla?
Well, I think so. I mean, I think that it's very subjective and it depends on the individual. But the thing about spiritual awakening is it's basically a wake-up call to a new life in the spirit when we begin to question our old beliefs and our habits and social conditioning. And we see that there's much more to life than we already know or been taught. People talk to me about, and they talk to pastors a lot about this these days. They talk about being spiritual but not religious. And that's fine. Some people find you find your spirituality and your aliveness in church, and some people find it out in the mountains or on the coast. And you'd be surprised how many folks will say to me as a pastor, I'm really not really, and it's fine by me. It's fine by most pastors. We want you to find your place in life and your spiritual awakening.
And I think that's why I was so drawn to you. And I'll never forget, and I will say we're United Church of Christ, and we're very open and aware, accepting of everybody. And whenever I brought someone to church from another religion, they're like, wow, like, this is really cool. And I wouldn't say I'm not religious, because I love the community, but from a logistics standpoint, as a mom with kids in sports and activities, it was really hard to get to church on Sunday, but that doesn't mean I'm not spiritual. But
it is hard to get to church on Sunday. I agree with you. And I think churches have been changing that a little bit. There are people who are doing dinner church or brunch church or church midweek. One of my favorite churches is Broadway UCC, which has services on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. And it's an awesome church. So I think churches are coming around to understanding that people can't just make it at 10 a.m. on Sunday.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
I see Greg and I see Jody and Abby. Hi, guys. I
Hi.
want to acknowledge that they are on, and I'm hoping that my friend Dave and Vanessa are on.
We are.
I
Hi,
hope
everybody.
so. So when spiritual awakening happens is a very interesting conversation. It often comes out of a period of darkness or troubles that you were talking about. And it's called the dark night of the soul. And it's an old term that can be traced back to the 16th century Spanish poem by the mystic Saint John of the Cross. A dark night of the soul is used within Christian tradition to refer to an individual's spiritual crisis in the course of their union with God. But it's also found in other traditions. If you read about the Buddha, you can read about it in a novel by Hermann Hesse called Siddhartha. You know, he went through so much inner turmoil just to awaken to his soul. So it can be found in other traditions. And I found this poem called The Dark Night that was written in 1578. That's a long time ago that people have been going through this process of a dark period and emerging into spiritual awakeness. So I thought that Allison and I, if you don't mind, Allison, we'll read it together, stanza by stanza.
Yeah.
One dark night, fired with love's urgent longings, ah, the sheer grace. I went out unseen, my house being now all stilled.
In darkness and secure, by the secret ladder disguised, ah, the sheer grace. In darkness and concealment, my house being now all stilled.
On that glad night, in secret, for no one saw me, nor did I look at anything, with no other light or guide than the one that burned in my heart.
This guided me more surely than the light of noon to where he was awaiting me. Him I knew so well, there in a place where no one appeared.
O guiding night, O night more lovely than the dawn, O night that has united the lover with his beloved, transforming the beloved in her lover.
Upon my flowering breast, which I kept wholly for him alone, there he lay sleeping, and I caressing him, there in a breeze from the fanning cedars.
When the breeze blew from the turret, as I parted his hair, it wounded my neck with its gentle hand, suspending all my senses.
I abandoned and forgot myself, laying my face on my beloved. All things ceased. I went out from myself, leaving my cares, forgotten among the lilies.
Isn't that beautiful?
And it's amazing that it was written in 1500s. Like, how
Yeah,
wild is that?
it's beautiful, and it's very poetic. I mean, the talk about the lover and the caressing. This is all images for God.
Yeah.
You know, it's quite beautiful. It does remind me a little bit of the Psalms in the Bible. One of the things Allison and I have been candid about is our journeys through our own personal dark nights of the soul. And we've openly shared with each other and formed a bond of friendship in which we fully encourage each other in our life journeys. And Allison is very good at this. She's very open about talking about this. I read your blog the other day.
Mm.
Absolutely beautiful about Barb, your friend Barb.
You know,
Oh,
you know, I asked for I could share it, but I sit there and think about that, about how the human touch and the feelings and just being real and honest. And it's so hard for so many of us to accept that. And that's another thing we're going to be talking about this month is being the person who's cared for and how hard that is to be vulnerable, to ask for help.
very, very, very hard. And we'll have to talk about Brene Brown and her whole
Oh man,
writings about
yeah.
Barb. I'm glad you said that. So one of the teachers of this spiritual awakening is named Eckhart Tolle. And he's a spiritual teacher and author born in Germany. And he was educated at the universities of London and Cambridge. And at 29 years old, he had a profound inner transformation that changed the course of his life. He devoted several years to understanding, integrating, and deepening that transformation. And he wrote best-selling books. You've seen him on Oprah, I'm
Well,
sure. He's
I'm
on.
writing in the chat right now. Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, is probably one of his best books.
Great. Thank you very much. And by the way, I see Barb. Hi, Barb. She was on. It's all about living life in the present moment, which is really the key to the whole thing, just living in the present moment. And at the core of his teaching is the transformation of your consciousness. It's a spiritual awakening that is the next step. And he believes in all of human evolution by transcending our ego-based state of consciousness. So I'm going to read something that he wrote about the dark night of the soul. He's a prolific writer. I edited this heavily because we don't have all the time of the wisdom that he has. But he says, Eckhart Tolle says, the dark night of the soul is a term that goes back a long, long time, probably way before the 1500s. It's a term used to describe what one could call a collapse of a perceived meaning of life, an eruption into your life of a deep sense of meaninglessness. It's as if nothing makes sense anymore. There's no purpose. Sometimes it's triggered by external events or a disaster like the death of someone, or certainly the death of a child before the parent is profound. And Allison talks about this in First Candle. You want to say something about that, Allison?
Well, I think especially today, most people don't know this, but today is actually Bereaved Mother's Day.
Oh, I didn't.
And it's an opportunity to honor those mothers who had a baby that died, and maybe that was their only one, and they're a mom, but they no longer have a baby here on earth. And you're right. I mean, it shook me to my core when I lost my son to SIDS, and it made me really reevaluate my life because he was my first baby. So, yeah.
So you built up your life and you gave it meaning, he says, and the meaning that you had given your life, your activities, your achievements, what was considered important. At that moment, when something profound like that happens, that whole tower collapses. And what has collapsed is the whole conceptual framework for your life, the meaning that your mind had actually applied to your life. And that can result in a very dark place. But people have gone into that and emerged into a transformed state of consciousness where life has meaning again. It's sort of like a recreating. You look at things with a deep sense of renewed aliveness, and you may awaken into something deeper, a deeper sense of purpose or connectedness with a greater life that's not dependent on explanations. It's a kind of, ironically, rebirth. What dies is the ego sense of self. But nothing has really died. It's only your illusion of what you thought reality was and who you were. And some people have gone through this and realized that they had to go through it in order to bring about a spiritual awakening. And often it is a part of the awakening process. It's the death of the old self and the birth of the true self. And those are mostly words by Eckhart Tolle.
You know, I think about so many people being nervous about their financial future. And, you know, when, like you said, people have gotten a chronic illness or financial ruin or whatever, and they're so angry. They're angry at God. They're angry at everybody. And, you know, it's like the stages of grief, right? Like you have to go through that anger before you can sit back and say, okay, I'm okay. I'm now at a new place, and I had no idea my life would be here, but I'm happy. And you know, honestly, that's what happened to me. And when people say, how did you survive the death of your baby? Of course I would want him back here, but he was my guiding spirit, and I would never be who I am today had I not gone through that dark place.
And let's acknowledge his name, Connor.
Connor Andrew Rhodes.
Beautiful. So what does this mean to you in an everyday kind of way? Um, Both Allison and I love the wonderful physician and philosopher Deepak Chopra. You want to say something about that app?
Yes. So every few months now, Deepak Chopra and Oprah Winfrey do a 21-day free meditation. And what I like about Deepak Chopra is he's. It took me a while, so I will give a shout out here to my wonderful husband, Greg. Um,
Greg,
Greg, when we
dude,
met, he's the one that introduced me to Eckhart Tolle and Wayne Dyer and everybody. And Eckhart Tolle is hard to read, right? Like I said to Carla just now, it's kind of like when you're starting out in high school and they would ask you to read like some college master's thing. Deepak Chopra is very easy to understand, and he's very relatable. But the same principle, right? So according to Deepak, awakening happens when you are no longer living in a dream world where you filter everything through your ego. And that's what this is all about, is
yeah,
our ego, and focus on the future and the past. Instead, you have to have almost simultaneous awareness of your individual self and the connection between that and everything else. And that is about living in the present moment, and that's spiritual awakening. When you look across faith traditions, there's a common thread that describes this state of awakening. This conscious happens when you stop being the observer and instead ask yourself, who is observing? So,
that's great, isn't it? Just
isn't it
take a
why?
moment with that. Just take a moment with that.
Yeah,
Who is observing? Who exactly is it that's observing? It's something that you can actually just ponder all day. I'm
yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, and this sounds very crazy. And for those of you who live nearby, Hybeck Stand is this amazing food place that opened down the street from us, and my daughter works there. But usually in the summer, there's lines and they're going fast, fast, fast. And we went to order from there last night, and they are only because of social distancing, only two people can work behind the counter, and it was much slower. And I was standing there waiting for 15 minutes, and there was a dad with his daughter behind me, and they were looking at the ice cream flavors. And I was like, oh my God, she's going to get, so anxious and not have the patience. But they just sat down and they just started talking, and they didn't get angry because they had to wait. And I didn't get angry. And I'm finding that all of us are able to slow down a little.
I did that at Trader Joe's yesterday. I went supermarket shopping for the first time because we've been getting groceries in, and we stood online 6 feet apart from people in front of us, and everyone was very patient.
Yeah.
It was cool.
So I'm hoping that lasts.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do we practice spiritual awareness? Let's talk about that, or spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
Um, I think the number one thing that's the most helpful to me is meditation, and I've just started a new practice of centering prayer. And my teacher is Cynthia Bourgeot, who is part of the Center for Action and Contemplation alongside Richard Rohr, who they're out in, I think it's Albuquerque. And centering prayer is a kind of a meditation, but it's not an Eastern meditation. You pick like one word, like let go, or that's 2 words, but any word, and you just spend 20 minutes quietly allowing your thoughts to come through you, and you just use that word, not to push the thoughts away. You allow the thoughts to come, and you do that for 20 minutes, and then she suggests that you do it twice a day. And I have to tell you, it's fantastic.
I'm doing something too. So I meditate by myself, but sometimes you just need that person to bring you in as well. So I'm doing it, and anybody can join. It's and I'll put the link here, but it's spiritual awakening with a friend of mine who, believe it or not, is also a mortgage broker, but she's amazing. And we have these meditation groups at 8 a.m. Tuesday mornings at 7:30
Right.
Thursday nights. And it's
What's
on
her name? What's her name?
Sue Baxter. And
Subax.
I'm gonna put the link there. But people think you have to meditate for so long. Honestly, you don't. Like, literally, this sounds crazy. You could meditate sitting on the toilet. Like, literally, you could just sit there for 3 minutes and just be. And I think people get all screwy saying, I can't meditate, I can't stop the thoughts. It's okay. Just acknowledge the thoughts, be with that. And that's that acceptance again, right? Don't fight it. Don't get angry if all of a sudden I'm going off thinking about what I'm going to make for dinner. Just be okay with that. Own that. And then bring yourself back. And that's what's great about that one word or two words. It kind of brings you back.
Yes, it's really helpful. It's also good to spend time outside, swimming or hiking or walking. Again, physical distancing, but just being out in the fresh air is really important. And also what's really important is to laugh.
Amen.
Look
Right?
up jokes, find funny things and watch comedies with friends and
Yeah.
try to consciously lighten up because there's lots of opportunities out there. And I
You
have
know,
a friend, sorry, and let me just finish this
yeah.
one thought. I have a friend online, her name is Davida D. McAllister, and she's a UCC minister. And she does these dance breaks every day,
Oh
twice
my
a
God.
day. You can
That's
go right to her site. It's Davida D. McAllister on Facebook. She's fantastic. It's Davida, just like it sounds, like
so.
David with an A.
All right, I'm going to write this. Eavita.
Right, and D,
Yep.
one person at McAllister, McCallister,
Mccallister.
and
Perfect.
she does these dance breaks twice a day. They are fantastic. Not only are you getting up and dancing your butt off, but she's so funny. She just brightens up the entire day.
There
So
is
I
nothing
recommend.
like that. Well, I have to. So again, millennials and the younger generation know some. I have to tell you, my daughters have gotten me on TikTok. There are so many funny TikToks out there, and again, it's just those short breaks. But yeah, we need to laugh.
Short breaks are important. I
Yeah.
also recommend connecting with a community. I don't care what the community is. This is a community, your church, a synagogue, a mosque. 12-step meetings are excellent community builders, and a lot of the 12-step meetings are doing them online, so you can Zoom with them, and that's fantastic. Or even neighborhood safe physical distancing get-togethers like you were doing. Tell them
Yep.
about that. Did you
Yeah.
do that before?
So, well, it's great. So Barb, who's on, is my friend who has cancer, but I'm like, I'm gonna see her. I don't care. So yesterday I went down there. We were spread apart. It was me, her husband, and her, and we were spread apart, but at least we got to see each other face to face. And today my mom and I are gonna go walking at Sherwood Island. Like, you've got to get out. Now, what really bugs me is I'm hearing from some people like they're getting shamed for being outside. There's nothing wrong with being outside. I'm making my husband go up to the golf course. Like, you've got to get out. You've got to see people.
I'm sure he's not going to fight that.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Greg, the golfer.
That's right.
Another way to help yourself feeling more alive, more spiritually connected is to volunteer. I know it sounds so corny because we live in such a capitalist society. You got to make money, make money. But the best thing that my husband, John, and I did yesterday, it was the best thing we've done, was we went to Trader Joe's, we bought food for ourselves and we bought food for Mercy Learning Center in Bridgeport.
Okay.
It's a wonderful center. It's right off I-95. What they do is they educate women in language skills, computer skills, single moms who are in need, who don't have shelter. And they were looking for collections of food. And we brought the food to our church, Greens Farms Congregational Church, to go to Mercy Learning Center. It was like the best thing we did all week. Just buying food. I mean,
I know.
just buy food for somebody else, It makes you feel like you're connected.
Well, and it's just doing something nice. Like, my cousin is, not only is she a school nurse in New Canaan, she is a labor and delivery nurse in Stanford, and she's
Wow.
going for her master's. And she is an EMT in New Canaan. So I got her another great place, you guys, the Painted Cookie. They make these amazing cookies, and it's like this COVID-19 survival box of cookies. And I
Nice.
just took it to her because it's Nurse Appreciation. And
That's
we
really important.
so you're doing.
You froze for me.
Oh, I'm
The
just so
other
grateful for what she's doing.
Well, grateful is the next one, to practice gratitude, consciously practice gratitude. Get yourself a gratitude book or a blank journal. And every night before you go to bed, write down 5 things that you are grateful for. You'd be
Yes.
amazed at how what a tonic that is, how it makes you feel better before you go to sleep.
Well, and it also brings you back to reality. Like we were saying, all these people that are struggling financially and are so angry or whatever, you still can be grateful for something, right? You can be grateful that you can get out of bed. You can be grateful that you're looking at your kids in the eyes. Like, find it. You're right. Those
Right.
little things. When I was at my lowest, that's what got me through.
Your gratitude list?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I also read something interesting. I can't remember what book, but about going to bed. And this isn't just about like not going to bed fighting, although I agree with that too. But what your last thoughts are what translates into your subconscious overnight and causes a better sleep or a bad sleep. And if
I'm
you're
sure that's
having
true.
if you're having stressful thoughts right before you get into bed, get out of bed, do something like aromatherapy. I'm going to do another one on aromatherapy because man, it helps. I just sniffed some energy and it was great. But yeah, like you've got to get into a good space before you go to bed.
Yeah, it's really important. And speaking of going to bed, one of the most important things we all need to do, I believe, in life is to slow down. Just
Yep.
slow down. We're all running. You know, one of the things I think we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, there was an article written about how during COVID and during sequestering, people feel like they have to be hyper productive just to feel sane. And the truth is, you do not have to be hyper productive. It
No.
is okay to slow down, take a cup of coffee, take a cup of herbal tea, whatever it is, and just be you in your body for 10 minutes a day. I mean, just slow down. We don't have to always
Yeah.
be producing and fabulous. We don't have to.
And you know what? It's really hard, and I know people might not believe this. You're a type A like me, and that's one of our hardest lessons, right? Like I was talking to my friend Karen, who might be on, especially when we have our kids in the house, and when we're writers, we're like, okay, and we'll find anything to give us an excuse. And I'm like, gosh darn it, my kids are disrupting me, but I realize that's really not it. I'm just not being creative at that moment. And rather than being okay with that, I'm like, I've got to be creative. It's like, no, it's okay.
You don't have to. And I think that that is true, that that's something that you and I share, and we can help each other
Yeah,
not do that, to
exactly.
be be you.
Yeah.
Be you, and be you in the moment, and slow down and enjoy the moment. And I'm grateful to you for being who you are. And I know that you are hyper productive. And I want to tell you, my buddy, you do not have to be. You are so wonderful just the way you are, just who
Well,
you are.
thank you. I'm working on that. I'm working on it.
So I'd like to close this morning with a piece called Primary Wonder. And this is by Denise Leverton, who's a poet and feminist. And it just encapsulates all the thoughts that we had this morning, if that's okay by you to close
Yeah,
with.
and you can scroll up in the comments, everybody. I posted the entire poem because everybody always likes to know about these poems. So you can read it again afterwards.
I love this poem. I thought it was beautiful. She says, days pass when I forget the mystery, problems insoluble and problems offering their own ignored solutions. They jostle for my attention. They crowd its antechamber, along with a host of diversions, my courtiers wearing their colored clothes, caps, and bells. And then, once more, the quiet mystery is present to me. The throng's clamor recedes. The mystery that there is anything, anything at all, let alone cosmos, joy, memory, everything rather than voice. And that, oh Lord, Creator, hallowed one, you still, hour by hour, sustain it. Amen.
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 Well, this is perfect. My dog, I don't know if you heard Duncan, he was getting into it.
Hi, Duncan.
And now he's like, okay, mom, it's time.
Yes.
So thanks, everybody. If you like this, please share this with everybody. We're going to be doing these 9 a.m. every Sunday. I'm going to be posting them on my YouTube channel, which please subscribe to it. And we just realized yesterday it's Allison Jacobson. It's not the Safety Mom YouTube channel. I've got to work on that with my manager. But please subscribe. we're going to be posting this, and go out, enjoy yourself today, slow down, be okay with it, and let's start emerging from this darkness.
Thanks everybody for listening.
Bye, everybody.
Love ya. Bye.